In this presentation, we're going to discuss what you should know and what you should do before, during and after a flood event. You may already be aware that the County of Warwickshire has seen several historical flood events, and we believe it's important to inform and prepare those who may be at risk. In our previous videos, such as knowing your flood risk, we discussed how to check your flood risks, such as finding out what flood zone you live in or your risk to surface water flooding. If you haven't already, please check out our other videos. Whilst we often think of flooding occurring when large rainfall events occur, there are several other contributing factors, such as groundwater, surface water, ordinary watercourses and rivers. The Flood Risk Management Team, FRM for short, are the lead local flood authority, LLFA, for Warwickshire, and one of our roles is to investigate the reports of flooding that we receive. We apply a risk-based approach to reports and investigate those that reach the criteria found in our local flood risk management strategy, found on our website. It is important to note that internal property flooding of habitable spaces and instances where there is a threat to safety will be prioritised for investigations over other flood reports. Please also note that documents including our local flood risk management strategy are currently under review and are being updated. However, any concerns for main rivers should be reported to the Environment Agency. No matter what the cause of flooding may be, it is important that you are prepared and know what to do in any circumstance. Anyone can be a victim of flooding, regardless of where they live. In circumstances such as where you may reside in a property that is never flooded, or you may not know your flood risk, preparation for a flood event may not be something you've considered before. As flood events do not occur often, preventative measures that could reduce the impact of flooding are not always taken. Whilst there may be a perceived belief that preventative measures may be costly initially, this cost is investing in a potentially long-term aid in protecting your property and yourself. This can be seen through the benefits of installing Property Flood Resilience Measures, PFR, which will be discussed in this video. For example, these pictures are from the 2007 summer flood event within Warwickshire, where floodwater was seen to be considerably high in places. With such high levels of water recorded, the cost of repairs often exceeds the cost of preparation and resilience measures. It is important to know your flood risk before a flood event happens. Details on how to do this and the resources to use are discussed in our Knowing Your Flood Risk video. Knowing your flood risk can give you an understanding of where you live and what areas may be prone to various types of flooding, such as surface water or groundwater flooding. Whilst preparation is required before a flood event, we cannot always predict exactly what will happen, so it's important to be as prepared as can be. Warwickshire County Council's FRM team work closely with the CSWR Resilience Team, which stands for Coventry, Solihull and Warwickshire Council's Planning, Preparing and Responding to Emergencies team. CSWR are a single unified team of emergency planning officers who represent the local authorities of Coventry, Solihull and Warwickshire. CSWR have a website which contains lots of useful information on how to be best prepared for flooding, as well as educating the public on other potential hazards. We recommend exploring the website and seeing what CSWR have to offer at cswprepared.org.uk. CSWR also help local communities write and update emergency plans. It's a good idea to see if an emergency plan exists for where you live, and you may even want to have an emergency plan in place for yourself and close family and friends should a flood event occur. Make sure you write down and discuss your emergency plan often so it isn't forgotten. It's also important to make sure you have appropriate property and vehicle insurance that covers any damages caused by flooding. Further advice can also be found on the CSWR website and Floodry, which is a joint initiative programme created by the government and insurance companies. We would like to remind you that information is freely available, so do not pay for services such as paid flood warnings or flood-related applications for handheld devices and computers. Free flood warnings are available to sign up for on the .gov website. Free apps released by the Environment Agency and Met Office can also be downloaded. If you have social media, you may also want to follow these organisations as updates are regularly posted. If a potential flood event is forecast, you may find out through television broadcasts, the radio, or the flood warning services discussed. Make sure you have a supply of bottled water and food so you aren't putting yourself at risk by leaving your property during a flood event. We also suggest keeping a small supply of bottled water and food in a grab bag, along with other necessities such as medication, toiletries and clean clothes for if you should need to evacuate your property unexpectedly. More details on what to put in a grab bag can be found on the CSWR website. Valuables, important documents and items of sentimentality should be placed at higher ground, such as upstairs where possible, or higher shelving. Consideration should also be given to the safety of the elderly, young children, pets or dependent individuals who may require alternative arrangements. This should be considered and actioned as soon and as safely as possible. The FRM team in Warwickshire do not supply sandbags, which cannot be reused and must be disposed of properly. They can be an accessible method of creating temporary barriers to slow down the rate in which floodwater can travel. However, alternatives are available and are preferred. While sandbags are often used due to their ease and accessibility, the FRM team strongly recommends alternatives are used where possible. Despite what some may think, sandbags cannot be reused and are not biodegradable. Used sandbags must be treated and disposed of properly as contaminated waste. This is because sandbags may be contaminated with hazardous waste that entered floodwater. If not disposed of correctly, this can pose a threat to the health of humans, animals and the surrounding environment. Not to mention, the smell may not be pleasant. Sandbags may aid in slowing down the rate in which water travels, however they are not waterproof. They do not seal out water completely and eventually water will seep through. If you've purchased sandbags as a precautionary measure, it's also important to ensure that they are stored correctly, as cold and damp can accelerate the rate at which sandbags deteriorate, meaning they may not be fit for use when needed. As stated by the Environment Agency, don't assume the authorities will provide you with sandbags in a flood emergency. It is the responsibility of property owners to take appropriate action to protect their property from flooding. Often, once sandbags have been deployed, a flood event is already underway, meaning it's too late to gain benefit from them. Instead, alternatives to sandbags should be considered, many of which are biodegradable and can be reused. Information on alternatives can be found on the Flood Hub website. Proper preparation and preventatives such as property flood resilience (PFR) can aid in protecting your property from flooding, offering longevity in comparison to temporary solutions which may only be suitable for one-time use. It is stated on the Flood Hub website that it's been reported that for every £1 spent on PFR, a further £5 is saved in future damages. PFR works in two main ways: resistance and resilience. Resistance is deemed more temporary than resilience, as this covers features that help prevent floodwater entering a property. For example, flood doors, barriers and gates. Resilience refers to the resistance the property has itself to floodwater damage. For example, measures such as waterproof plaster and using flooring tiles instead of carpet. Raising electrical items and sockets is also greatly beneficial. If you own a property with a garden or driveway, you may also wish to consider features such as water butts, permeable paving and planters to help reduce the amount of water that may travel towards your property. If you're interested in PFR but you're renting or do not have the power to add PFR to a property, contact your landlord or relevant property owner. More information on PFR can be found on the Flood Hub website. Now you have an insight into what to do before a flood event, let's talk about during. Many people try to leave their house during a flood event, but stay inside and do not leave your property unless instructed to do so. Walking and driving through floodwater can cause serious harm and in the worst case can lead to fatalities. This is because obstructions may not be seen under the water and debris may contain sharp objects that could injure. Obstructions may also include the likes of blown or removed manholes that you could fall down. Floodwater may also contain chemicals and germs that can lead to serious illness. According to the AA, a third of flood-related deaths are in vehicles. When driving in floodwater, it only takes a small amount of water to aquaplane. In fact, also according to the AA, just 60 centimetres of standing water will float your car, and 30 centimetres of flowing water can move it. So, in a flood event, let someone know where you are but remain in your property. Ensure you have taken the precautionary steps discussed, such as moving valuables and preparing a grab bag. Bottled water is recommended as your water supply may become contaminated. If you believe your water supply is contaminated, drink bottled water until confirmed safe otherwise. Follow local media outlets for updates, such as via radio, television, or the internet. Emergency services may also broadcast messages on flood events, such as updates or details on planned evacuations. Alternatively, if you have access to a telephone, you can call Floodline for flood event updates and flood alerts regarding rivers and seas on 0345 988 1188. You may also want to consider putting plugs in sinks and baths and weighing these down if water starts to ingress. Closing any gaps under and around doors and windows are also beneficial. If you are evacuating your property, make sure you know how to turn off utilities such as water, gas and electric. If instructed to evacuate by emergency services, do so and don't refuse. Refusing may only put the lives of yourself and others at risk. Pets are also often allowed to evacuation centres, however ensure you have the appropriate carriers and leads and pet food. You must also ensure you bring any medicine, spare clothing and baby items if relevant, as food and bedding should be provided at evacuation centres. If there ever is a threat to life, call 999. After a flood event, first things first, do not return back to your property unless it has been confirmed safe to do so. As floodwater may have caused structural damage to your property, serious precautions should be taken. You should dress appropriately in personal protective equipment, PPE, such as gloves, face masks and steel cap boots or Wellingtons. This is because some dangers may be concealed under floodwater. If you do have insurance, contact your insurance company who will send out an adjuster. They will confirm what damages have been sustained and can provide advice on how to restore your home. If you do not have appropriate insurance, contact free organisations such as Floodry to help you build normality back. You should not turn your utilities back on until they have been checked over by a professional or safety advice has been taken. Remember to throw away any contaminated food and drink and anything that might have been spoiled in cupboards, fridges or freezers. When cleaning up, take a look at your drains as they may also need a clear out of debris. This also helps to prevent worsening damage should more rain follow. Once you're in a safe position and are comfortable to do so, please report any incidents of flooding to Warwickshire County Council. Whilst we value this information, your safety post-flood event takes priority. Take and submit photographs of any damage endured and, where safely captured, photographs of the flooding. Keep records of this information safe, such as for any insurance requirements. Reports can be made via our website at www.warwickshire.gov.uk/flooding. The information provided by yourself regarding flood reports increases our knowledge of flood risk across the county and contributes to our efficiency in investigating reports where our thresholds, as previously mentioned, are met. Due to this, please provide as much accurate information as possible. Thank you for watching. For more information on the further work we do in the flood risk management team, please refer to our other information videos available, as well as information available on our website. Details on how to contact the team directly can also be found following the link below. Please also check out our information leaflets, Flooding within Warwickshire and Riparian Ownership and Responsibilities, for more information about the topics covered within this video. These leaflets can also be found on our webpage. We also recommend exploring the links provided throughout this video to better your understanding of flood risk and to better prepare yourself.